Tonight's episode of the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report is dedicated to the memory of Jamin Pugh, professionally known as Jay Briscoe, age 38. He was a real one. This one's for you, Jay.
Always a shame.
You know what sucks? Go ahead and fade it out there. You know what really sucks about that whole scenario? I'm sure you saw the story.
Mm-hmm.
Pro wrestler Jay Briscoe passing away in a car accident in Laurel, Delaware. On what was it? Tuesday morning, I believe. Tuesday afternoon when the story broke. His tag team partner and best friend, Mark Briscoe, his birthday was the very next day.
Oof.
And Jay's 39th birthday would have been next week. Yeah, it's just one of those things where only the good die young, and timing has a really funny way of being an a-hole sometimes.
Boy, are you telling me?
Good evening, afternoon, whenever you happen to be listening, and welcome to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
A presentation of the Not a Network Podcast Network. Twitter.com/NotANetworkPods, Twitch.tv/NotANetworkPods. Currently still available on AWP Podcast, but that will be sunsetting at the end of the month, so make sure you guys move over to the Not a Network Pods feed, and YouTube.com/@NotANetworkPods.
There we go. And again, if you're listening or you're watching on Twitter, check the link in the bio. That's the link to the Discord server. Open to the public. From there, hopefully you know what to do.
Feel free to interact with us. We'll be happy to do so with you guys. And especially given what's coming up here in a couple of weeks on BWSR, as an old kickoff tradition makes its way to BWSR, the Superb Al is back. I am your host. I am the voice of reason. Allegedly. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Joining me, as per usual, I figured it out, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
The HNIC of NAMP.
That works.
Not in network pods. The DSDO, he is the anchor man. He is Erik Watkins.
This is the happiest I've been late into a football season in 5 years.
Yeah,
unequivocally.
We don't talk about the 2017 season in these parts. Actually, you know what? We do talk about it because you had to reverse the curse at some point if you were a Bills fan. And shout out Andy Dalton. All right, so before we get into today's show, just a couple of quick pieces of housekeeping here. First of all, congratulations.
Congratulations to you as well.
Looking forward to hopefully maybe running it back next week.
It's Saturday. That's all I will say for right now.
Kind of appropriate that the Bills are playing who the Bills are playing this Sunday. We'll obviously talk about that a little bit later on. But all I know is that there are two people in this show. And of those two people, both of those playoff teams are still alive. Just saying. We open this episode how we open all the episodes, mostly, of BWSR. It's time for Studs and Duds. And oh boy, do I have a doozy of a dud for you this week. NFL postseason history. Actually, not just NFL postseason history. NFL regular season, postseason, all the histories. He made all of them. Bing! We're starting with duds, by the way, in case you haven't noticed. Brent Maher. Maher?
Maher. But
whatever.
Does it really matter?
Brent jobless at the end of this season. 3, 4. It It's turning into Sesame Street on BWSR. Bear with me.
Four
Ah,
missed extra points.
An NFL record for most missed extra points in a single game.
Now, when we say, and go ahead.
He tied the record he tied it earlier in the game with 3 because 3 had happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Never in the postseason, but it had happened in the regular season. 4 had never happened until this past Monday night. Carry on.
When we say NFL history, we're not just talking about, since the playoffs were expanded. We're not talking about going back to 1990 when the last time the playoffs were expanded. We're not even going to talk about
going from 5 to 6 in 1990.
Correct. We're not even going to go and talk about since 1970 when the AFL and NFL merged. No. We're going all the way back in the way back machine to 1932. Because apparently extra points were not tracked throughout the 1920s and early 30s. I can kind of understand why, but yeah.
To be fair, most of the stuff back then is pretty much statistically unreliable at best and intermittent at worst.
True. Not to mention it was around 32 to where you started getting more concrete similar regular season lengths, and you were starting to get the beginnings of playoff games. So it's a fair point.
Somewhere Jim Mora Jr. is very disappointed in us. Playoffs? Talking about playoffs? Why don't we have that sound? There's one for the future on this show.
Allow me to do some producing, or rather get someone else to do some producing.
God knows we reference that enough on this show. In addition, don't forget the Mike Gundy, I'm a man, I'm 40. Although technically he's now like 55. Anyways, yeah. Trenton Vizcaino, I believe you said his name was, has been brought in as a potentially temporary replacement, although the Cowboys have stated, according to today's ESPN.com article, that they still have faith in Maher, whatever. And apparently he was perfect in practice today. Dallas, of course, has the late game once again, 4:30 Sunday. Fox, I think?
Yes. Not 4:30, 6:30.
Oh, right, 3 and 6:30 on Sunday. I'm so used to the 1 and 4:25 that the 6:30 throws me, because I think they do the same thing with the conference championship games too, isn't it? Like 3:30 and 7 or whatever.
3 and 6:30 because under long-standing NFL rules, a game may kick off no earlier than noon local time. And since the participants are usually not determined until about the week or so prior, those Sunday games, those time slots are locked in to ensure that rule is held up.
I did not know that. I just learned something. That was a very effective squid bit, sir.
Why, thank you.
Well played. All right, so yeah, Maher, whatever. Keep it up again, and you will be jobless. Vote of confidence for now, but even Dak Prescott was seen on the sideline saying, "Go for fucking 2," which, given the season that Dak had at times, is rich.
Yeah, again, given the season that he had at times, but there was a lot going on that particular game against the Bucs.
I will say this much. That was not the largest incident of bus throwing by a teammate during the course of this past 7 days. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Wait a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Dramatic doggo?
Dramatic doggo indeed. Eric, who's your dud for the week?
All right. I'm going to put this out here right now. I said off air that there was a particular theme. Wait a minute. it didn't update correctly, that there was a particular theme for my dud. Now you're thinking to yourself,
God damn it.
Why is this counter on the screen? Kirk Cousins had a good game. 31 of 39, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns. Why is he a dud? Well, Jimmy, shout out Cody to Alternate History Hub for that one. I will tell you exactly why. 4th and 8, down by 7, game on the line. Harry?
What is a screen pass, Alex?
Correct. See? Screen pass. Deeper route. Why are you throwing a check down in that situation? Really? I get you're wearing purple, shrinking violet. It all fits together, but my God.
I don't necessarily know that you can entirely put this on non-1 p.m. Kirk Cousins.
True, the defense did kind of stink up the joint as well. It's not all on him.
And welcome back to the postseason, Saquon Barkley. Have yourself a game, sir.
Man, so, the quad father ran. He ran so far away.
Thanks. Flock of seagulls in my head now. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anyways, here's the thing, though. Is this really an upset? I would make an argument that of the 6 home teams to play this past weekend, the Vikings were almost universally the one voted most likely to get knocked off in wildcard weekend, just because of the fact that it took a 61-yard field goal in Week 16 for them to beat the Giants the first time.
And not to mention, when we talked about the line for this game, the Vikings were only a 3-point favorite. And as you know, home field advantage is about 3.5. So you're essentially saying that on a neutral site, it was a pick'em.
I mean, to be fair, in the Vikings stadium, it was a pick'em.
You're not entirely wrong about that one.
That's not to say that there weren't some disappointing performances by home teams over the course of wildcard weekend. Specifically in the NFC, looking at you, Tampa Bay.
I mean, well, if you're going to make Dak Prescott the first Cowboys quarterback ever to throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in a playoff game, I'd say that was a disappointing performance at Ray J.
Nope. Family show. Not making that reference. And Erik is broken. So here's my thing. And then we'll move over.
Yeah, we just did that to start out the show there, JT.
Wait to pay attention to the beginning of the show there, John.
I have heard it called Ray J before, Andesian. Thank you very much. Granted, it was some time ago, but still.
You know what you can call it? You can call it Kim K, because they pissed away their season.
Done. That's it. Good night. That's the show.
Erik officially broken. We move over to our studs for the week. So there's a quarterback who plays in the Silicon Valley. He used to play up in the freezing cold of North Dakota, don't you know? And all of the hype, all of the potential, everybody thought, this kid can't miss. This kid's about to lose a job because of Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, who would have thought that little old Ames, Iowa would produce the big-time deal?
Don't you know? 18 of 30. So 60% completion percentage. Not great, but in fairness, a rough first half getting his feet under him. 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. As the Brock Purdy-led San Francisco 49ers took out the Seattle Seahawks 41-23 to open the postseason. Dare I say, pack your bags, Trey Lance. Destination unknown.
I mean, first of all, as we have this, the Heyman promo for Purdy.
I did not. It was on the pre-show. I was watching basketball.
Now I gotta say, go ahead.
Rock Chalk played at the same time the pregame was on. I watched Kansas.
I gotta say this. Love Jimmy G, love Trey Lance. I think you're right. If they get a decision in a pinch and you're talking about maximizing return for letting one of them go, the market's going to be a lot better for Trey Lance. I don't know how long Jimmy G is going to want to stay, knowing that he's still that backup and could still be very highly paid, but it's going to be an intriguing situation for John Lynch in that front office.
Jimmy G was on a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. He had his contract reworked in order to finish out the season here, because I mean there was the intention of trading him through the season, and then obviously when Lance went down with the fractured ankle, then all bets were off in terms of Garoppolo taking over. And the sad thing is with Garoppolo, Jimmy G was actually having the best season of his career as a starter before he too went down with a foot injury. And there was talk going around that should the 49ers make a deep run in the postseason, that Garoppolo might be able to return. I think it would be stupid to have Garoppolo return at this point.
No, extremely stupid. Go with the hot hand.
Yeah, learn from the Buffalo Bills. Personal experience here. The name Doug Flutie ring a bell?
Doug Flutie. I mean, you could say, I don't know, another wild comeback that happened in '92, and Frank Reich maybe giving him a little bit more. Just saying.
More specifically for Doug Flutie, do you remember the man who Doug Flutie was benched for in our playoff game? No, you don't. Exactly. Therein lies my point. His name was Rob Johnson.
Oh, yeah, because I was thinking, was it Rob Johnson or was it one of the Van Pelts?
It was Rob Johnson. Flutie had the hot hand at the end of the regular season. Flutie gets benched for the playoff game against Tennessee. Now, granted, the way the Tennessee game ended was not Johnson's fault. Johnson kept the Bills in that game. I don't necessarily know that we're in that situation if Flutie's the starting quarterback, because, again, you ride the hot hand. San Francisco, learn from the past lest she be doomed to repeat it. Ride the hot hand, and clearly there's an investment to be made in the future of your franchise with the kid from Ames, Iowa, Brock Purdy. Eric, who's your stud for the week?
Look, we here at the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report
Sports in black and white. Sorry, was checking the messages.
That's okay. Thank you. We celebrate big man touchdowns. We celebrate historic touchdowns. We celebrate when there's a record for the longest touchdown of any form and fashion in playoff history. Mr. Sam Hubbard, Bengals defensive lineman, right place, right time, right goal line stand. Tyler Huntley tries to reach over, despite being, almost impossibly ways back. Ball gets smacked out of hand. Hubbard recovers.
To use one of the more famous quotes in the history of football, he could go all the way.
In what was a very impressive and very well-earned Bengals win to set up a rather juicy matchup in the divisional round. Granted, he'll needed a few days worth of oxygen after that, but it was well worth it.
To be fair, you make me run 98 yards, even though I'm like 100 pounds. I'm like 50 pounds ish lighter than Sam Hubbard is, and I'm going to need a couple of days worth of oxygen in order to recover too. So I know I gave you a format here, but I'm going to go ahead and switch this up real quick just because it immediately ties into mine.
Okay.
So that wraps up studs and duds.
Mm-hmm.
And instead we move on to so. That happened. And we start with the NFL side of things. And the reason that we start with the NFL side of things is because of that specific play that you mentioned and whom it was that had the ball. Baltimore Ravens backup quarterback, Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
Which apparently rubbed some of his teammates the wrong way. You mentioned, you want to go ahead and share what I called my STH inside of the show preview chat?
All aboard the Baltimore bus service?
By the name of J.K. Dobbins. Starting running back for Baltimore, who was questioning, and I quote, why the hell the ball was in his hand in that situation in the first place. Oh, boy.
I mean, if things were bad enough with the halftime interviews and Lamar Jackson not even being there with the team, now you've got this.
But here's the thing, though. You're in the postseason in the NFL.
Yes.
You're a wild card team, granted. Now, who knows what would have happened if Lamar doesn't get hurt, but that is a chance you take with a running quarterback.
Correct, yes.
I would advise Mr. Dobbins, however, to take the advice of one Tammy Wynette and stand by your man, or in this case, your quarterback.
Yeah, a little bit less Marshawn Lynch vibes, although he didn't directly say anything. A little bit more Terrell Owens in Dallas without the crying.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have Owens just give me the damn ball, that would have been fine.
Oh yeah.
But the literal bus throw that accompanied it, Marshawn Lynch didn't say anything because Marshawn Lynch didn't have to. And there are probably plenty of Ravens fans that know that ball should not have been in Tyler Huntley's hands in that situation.
Absolutely true.
But he is still your teammate, JK. And I'm not just kidding when I tell you that standing behind your teammate would have been the professional thing to do. I get anger of the moment. I get that it all happened so quickly that perhaps you lose your cool.
Yeah, heat of competition. It happens to all of us.
But if you're going to be the face of that franchise going forward, and based on the talent that's currently in Baltimore and who may or may not be there at the end of this offseason, looking at you, Lamar.
Well, and some updates about that as well.
If you're going to be the face of that franchise, the captain of that franchise, the man for whom the franchise rotates around, this right here, the Baltimore Bus Company, it's not a good look.
Shouldn't be in service.
This ain't soccer, but that's offside.
I was going to put up something else.
Actually,
I'm still going to put up something else.
Actually, you know what? It is offside. The NFL edition.
And with the comments, since you mentioned it, it's good to have your money back again. And no, I'm not singing in the voice. And yes, that was Tammy Wynette. And yes, folks, Life is Like a Game Show will be returning. Stay tuned to all of our outlets for details. Now, for my So That Happened, yes, I could sit here and talk about all of the coaches and offensive coordinators like one Greg Roman that have been fired. But
or your former quarterback in Tampa Bay as well.
Exactly. But we're going to let that simmer. Yeah, Tom Brady did stop on a double whammy. See exactly how the whammy is going to mess with him during the offseason. But I do have a bit of a different story that's a bit more pressing.
Focus, squirrel.
And I, for a very rare moment, have an honorable mention, STH, that I feel compelled to go through quickly. All I'm going to say initially is this.
Hey guys, there's been another Antonio Brown thing!
Nope. Family show.
I'm
Nope.
not going to go into details. Go on Twitter. He's been banned from Snapchat. You will see why. There's been debates and differing reports about who the co-star is. You'll know exactly what I mean when you see it. Look, all I'm saying, and I'm just going to say it this way. He pulled a me. He pulled a me.
I can't talk. I made a Kim Kardashian joke earlier, so what the hell do I know? Carry on.
Yeah, to not draw the ire of standards and practices, he pulled a me. And if you're the loyal friends and true Sunday nights, most weeks on Point of Viewer, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean,
continue.
Impressive. Again, if ever there was a sale,
family show. I reiterate what I just said. Continue with your original. So that happened.
So, with my original So That Happened, there's a long-standing thing in a rather chain of restaurants that is actually pretty famous around these parts. And I'm going to go back to a couple of previous comments that were mentioned. Yes, there was a certain very famous Waffle House cup. Something happened and this isn't cooperating. And yeah, if everything in the universe aligns right and we advance, I may have to make a trip to a Waffle House myself. Or should I say Trevor House? Thanks in significant part to the boot of one Riley Patterson coming out there, making the game winner, completing the comeback.
Where did he go to college?
Really?
No, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm not sure, and I want to know if I'm correct or not.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
I believe the answer is Oregon State, but I'm not sure.
Please hold.
Because I seem to remember a Patterson at Oregon State.
Nope, different Patterson. He went to Memphis.
JTN is incorrect as well. He guessed Clemson, so at least I wasn't the only one. Memphis. Man, what is it? What is it about those American kickers? All right, continue.
So, completing one of the largest comebacks in NFL history. Down 27-0, Jaguars were dead to rights. He comes on at the gun, boots the game winner. And what does Trevor Lawrence do? In typical fashion, keeping up the tradition of a Florida man quarterback, he heads himself up to Waffle House. Specifically, if you're in the Jacksonville area, if you go to Jacksonville Beach, the one on Beach Boulevard at Jack's Beach, that's the one. And with that Clemson orange, you can get yourself a beautiful Trevor House t-shirt because of it.
Important question. How are your potatoes?
Covered chunked and diced?
I'm more of a hash brown guy myself.
Well, I mean, yeah, when they have their hash browns specifically at Waffle House. Whenever I get hash browns at Waffle House, that's always how I get them, covered, chunked, and diced.
I got to be honest with you. I don't go to Waffle House very often. I think I've been once in the last 4 years, maybe. When I was still involved in wrestling on a regular basis, that was more of a because the whole. I don't know if you're familiar with Bruce Pritchard, the guy who used to be in charge of and is now currently back in charge, or at least partially in charge of WWE Creative. The old wrestling joke, "Whiz awful his house." Similar to that regard for me. So, like, when I was still involved in wrestling, Waffle House was more of a thing. These days, I'm more of an Eaton Park guy. But that's just personal.
Well, he is right. Hashtag it's a Southern thing. Although, nationwide, you are welcome for the Waffle House Index.
We do have one relatively close-ish, I guess. Technically, it's like over by 680, over towards the Sheets. I know Sheets isn't a national thing either. But for those who have Sheets, they know how good Sheets is. It's like literally the strip is like a hotel, a Waffle House, a Sheets, and across the street is like one of those Pilot Flying J gimmicks that has a McDonald's in it. So, I mean, if you're a McDonald's person, I guess it's good as well. But me personally, I'm not a McDonald's person.
Yeah, the next episode of Point of Viewer, we will be discussing.
Apparently, I was about to say, apparently he sent you the picture for the Trevor House t-shirt.
Oh, that's not just the picture. That's the link to buy one. Yeah, there might be a purchase in my near future.
Well, I mean, there is a whole $50 thing that we can talk about off air. All right, let's move forward here. The collegiate version of So That Happened. And before we get into the news portion of So That Happened here, I think this would be an appropriate time to address one of the potential elephants in the room. Do you have the story in front of you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. For those of you who have heard in recent news, the tragic passing of Georgia lineman Devin Willock, passing away, and as he's mentioned off air, along with one of the staff aides.
Recruitment aides, I believe. Like one of the I believe she was involved in the NIL department, if I recall correctly.
And to do this properly, so yes, this past Sunday morning in Athens, approximately 2 miles from the campus of the University of Georgia, at 2:45 in the morning, was a tragic and fatal car accident that took the life of a recruiting analyst, 24-year-old Chandler LaCroix, and the aforementioned Devin Willock, passing away just at the age of 20. There were 2 others in the car who did survive, thankfully. One, Victoria Bowles, another member of staff, hospitalized with serious injuries. Now, unfortunately, there have been some recent details that have come out that excessive speed did play a factor in this particular crash, as the 2021 Ford Expedition failed to negotiate a left curve, causing the vehicle to strike the curb with its front passenger tire and then leaving the roadway on the west shoulder before striking a power pole and a utility pole. And this was very, very bad.
Not a great week for car accidents for this show.
No, it's not. I was thinking the same thing, and There's been a lot of condolences, and it's sad to go from the mountaintop celebrating a national championship to, well, unfortunately, this.
Yeah, like the old ABC Wide World of Sports thing, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. You could make the argument that it certainly doesn't get much more agnious.
Agonizing?
I suppose that would probably be the best way to go with it. And then this. It's literally for that program, it went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows within the process of 5 days. The Monday night championship blowout over TCU in the biggest bowl game victory in college football championship history, to losing one of your brothers, one of your teammates, one of the men whom you shared the field with, just not even 5 days later.
I mean, again, this is another one of those that it's just a real shame. Gone way too soon. But let this serve as a bit of a warning to everyone. Obey traffic laws, wear your seatbelts, stay safe on the roads. You never know what can happen.
Go rest high upon that mountain. Your work here is done. Rest in peace, Devin Willock and Chandler Lacroix. All right, again, there is no easy way to transfer out of this, and since we're already in So That Happened, we'll just move over to the collegiate version here. I'll go first here because my story's kind of relevant given the fact that we were just talking about his brother's NFL team. So now we move from John Harbaugh and the Baltimore bus company that he's apparently running to Jim Harbaugh at the University of Michigan. Still, apparently, for now, we think. To be determined. Despite the allegations and the rumors of potential NCAA sanctioning coming forth against the University of Michigan for recruitment and other failure to control one's institute violations, Jim Harbaugh has announced that he will be staying at the University of Michigan to coach the 2023 season. Erik, I think this is a case of a little bit of icing on the cake before hitting the bricks.
And, well...
But wait, there's more.
Another report broke today about that. And I am going to put a link to the ESPN article.
I'm going to need you to do one better here because I have not seen said report. Why don't you go ahead and pull this up on the screen?
Sure. Because I was looking for
Of course he did.
So, for those when we have this up on the screen, I'm going to scroll up. Jim Harbaugh's refusal delays NCAA case for Michigan.
Is this a situation of him refusing to cooperate with the investigation?
Pretty much. His refusal during multiple meetings this week to acknowledge that he had lied to investigators. This was confirmed just today to ESPN, and this was first reported by Yahoo Sports. A
college football coach being less than forthright. Shocker.
I'm shocked. Shocked. Well,
not that shocked.
Not that shocked.
Again, that needs to be a clip. And I know he's watching, so I can tell him right now to his face or to his screen. That needs to be a clip. We love ourselves some Futurama around here. Thank you, Mr. Producer.
I can hear him muttering already.
We got hit with an okay, I get it in the Twitch chat.
Yeah, my show needs that clip too. I don't need all of you yelling at me from all directions. I was just going to put it in the appropriate place in the stats sections of this.
Okay, here, allow me to ask nicely. Please and thank you, Mr. Producer, sir. I think that might have been towards John, honestly.
I mean, knowing him, it's doubly applicable.
Oh, I'm being told it was not towards John.
I figured it was. I
All
figured.
Right.
Yep.
Go ahead and pull off the Harbaugh thing there. Yeah, no. My guess is with the pending investigation and the lack of cooperation, there will be no determination in the immediate future. Therefore, the 2023 Michigan season will not be affected. So Harbaugh will stay there. He will coach the season. And then once the getting is good next offseason, that's when the getting will be gotten.
Of course, because if we're talking potential level 1 violation for him, multiple game suspension, the initial investigation, which are level 2 violations, that would really soften the blow. So, as you had just said, the start of 2024, one more season, try to get back in the playoff, defend the Big Ten title, see what coaching jobs are available in the NFL, and bounce.
Especially when you consider that a lot of the major head coaching vacancies that are currently in the NFL already have potential suitors, including a certain former New Orleans Saints coach likely to land in Denver.
Oh.
Has that changed too? Good grief.
Somewhat. There's a couple more teams that are in the mix. Denver is in play. But remember, the Saints are asking for a first-round draft pick and then some as compensation.
Do they still have contractual rights to Sean Payton?
Until 2024.
Oh, shit. Okay, then it might be a situation of the NFL teams might be willing to wait an extra year. Oh, my God, the Texans could fire another coach and then go after Sean Payton.
I mean, the fact that they've already been doing some hiring and further firing, the dumpster fires continue to rage.
I was just about to say, the Houston dumpster fires for a reason in these parts. I got nothing else to add to that.
Well, from the coaching carousel to, dare we say, the transfer portal carousel is, boy, hell, have there been a lot of moves. Specifically, the Lane train is going to keep rolling. Not only did they get another top quarterback from the transfer portal, all Big 12 quarterback from Oklahoma State, Spencer Sanders, is making his way to Oxford, Mississippi.
So apparently, the quarterback that the Gators stole from you guys wants out of Florida now.
Yep, he wants a rescinding of his letter of intent.
Because apparently there was like a Gator booster organization that was supposed to provide a double-digit NIL benefit, which is fucking absurd to me.
Wait, when you say double-digit, are we talking 8 figures?
We are talking 8 figures. $11 million. I would assume that would be over the life of his college career, because that for one season would be asinine.
True.
Regardless, the point being is that the organization that was supposed to be funding this deal has backed out of its commitment as well, feeling that given the current state of the quarterback situation at the University of Florida, that somebody with a little bit more experience was the way to go. Reports are Walker Howard, I think the guy's name was. It's one of the top transfer quarterbacks in the portal currently. I'm pretty sure his first name is Walker, if you want to check that out. But yep. I want to say...
Yes, indeed. $11 million.
So the general idea is that the Gators are going to go after somebody with a little bit more experience in the transfer portal, just due to the fact that obviously we saw in our bowl game with Oregon State, the quarterback that played as the starter for that game's not ready yet, and Richardson's leaving.
By the way, Walker Howard, you said?
Yes.
Oh, damn it. It's not here, is it? I might have to do a temporary switcheroo unless it's been properly up and see if it's been properly uploaded elsewhere. There's a clip we may have for this. Please hold.
All right. Well, while I have...
Yes, and I'm doing this for a reason. Keep going.
Yeah, I know exactly why you're doing it. You're doing it to hide the background while you're looking for the clip.
Oh, no. I've actually found the clip. And, well, I'll let this clip speak for itself.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
Remember when I said a few seconds ago about another top quarterback landing at Ole Miss?
Was he the one? Those sons of bitches.
Lane Train just up and hijacked that one straight from you.
Florida, longtime Billy Napier, courtesy of Fan Nation. Florida, longtime Billy Napier quarterback target. Walker Howard transfers to Ole Miss. Son of a bitch. I hate Lane Kiffin. I do like Wade Barrett, however.
Honestly, that was one that I had specifically sort of requested with you in mind as well. Just happens that a certain someone also uploaded it to Parallel Convergence and not here, but producer produces things, and I know he's still watching.
Well, on the plus side, it would also be good for spoiler alert coming later 2023 as well.
True. Very true.
Just saying. All right. Any other transfer portal buzz that you want to touch on real quick?
That was the main one. I gotta look and see for any of the other really juicy ones. Top transfer linebacker Omar Speets going to LSU. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, there's going to be a few more, and next week, well, another bit of legal news from the good state of California. Stay tuned for next week when we dig into that one.
That is a double occurrence of the dramatic doggo this week.
Oh, yeah, and this one is a biggie.
We're going to have to slip him some extra doggy biscuits. I'm just saying.
And yes, that's fine. You've got time. No rush.
A major Gators target in the transfer portal was Deuce Spurlock, the linebacker from Michigan. He's already committed to transfer to the University of Florida, however. So
yeah, that'll definitely aid in that defense.
No quarterback listings for the transfer portal for the Gators. Walker Howard was the one that they were targeting, and obviously that did not end well. Mother. Stupid.
I didn't think that this would be the instance where I would get to debut that, but damn, time is perfect.
Mother. All right, let's move forward. Shall we pour one out for the homers? And the reason we shall pour one out for the homers is because if you're wondering, wait a minute, doesn't Survivor usually follow? So that happened? Yes, it usually does. Except when we reach the end of the season and there are 4 games to pick and all of them go into Are You Serious? And we don't want to give anything away for who we're picking. For some reason, you're a little blurry right now. It might just be me on my computer. Can anybody watching give me an update on that there? Let me know if it's like he's blurry, I'm blurry, both of us are blurry.
Because I know on my end everything is good. I did have a little linkage. I'm okay. Okay, so for some reason, I don't know what it is. All right, let me refresh real quick. I shall return momentarily.
All right, so while he does that, then I'll go ahead and talk about the Buffalo Bills. That game on Sunday, it was Sunday at 1:00. That game on Sunday was a lot closer than it should have been because it was heading towards a blowout. And it was heading towards a blowout because of the fact that the Bills jumped out to a 17-0 lead early in the first half before the end of the first quarter, only to see the Dolphins run off 17 straight to tie the game up at 17 before a Buffalo field goal by Tyler Bass, but that's all, folks, gave Buffalo a 20-17 lead going into the half. The problem, though, is that you could clearly tell that momentum was in Miami's favor at that point, and even more so when Josh Allen was strip sacked to start the third quarter, and it was recovered and returned for a Miami Dolphin touchdown, giving them a 24-20 lead. That being said, from that point of 24-20, the Bills proceeded to outscore the Dolphins 14-7, thus ending up with the 34-31 final. I'm guessing we have a second. Oh, no, our original producer is back. Welcome back, Erik.
Yeah, minor glitch that apparently I didn't see, but everything seems to be better. Yeah, no pressure from John on this one about failing to circle the wagons.
Didn't they just lose back-to-back divisional games to miss the playoffs?
I mean, it is saying, yeah, time to avenge the 4 in a row, wide right. Look,
Anyway.
I'm not mentioning it this time. I'm being nice.
You're the one pulling up the comments, sir. Anyways,
well, I mean, somebody's gotta. It's not my fault that they bring them in and you don't have control yet. And my name isn't even blue for a reason.
Back to what I was saying about the game there. Like I said, way closer than it had any right to be.
True.
But at the same time, I think this is going to be a situation where you consider the old NCAA tournament axiom. Jim Valvano had 3 simple words to describe getting through the NCAA tournament. And I think they apply to the NFL postseason as well.
They do.
And I mean, you can speak as well, given the way your game went on Saturday night.
Whoo!
Those 3 simple words that Jim Valvano would always say are survive and advance. So while it wasn't the prettiest of wins, while it wasn't as flashy as it probably should have been, and while it cost both me and Erik a loss against the spread in our AYS standings, the only thing that matters is this Sunday, at 3:00 p.m. Eastern, in the hallowed halls of Ralph Wilson Stadium Ralph Wilson Field at Highmark Stadium. It should be the Ralph. I'm just saying.
Same.
Corporate synergy. Oh, speaking of which, did you see they renamed Vivint Arena in Salt Lake City? It's becoming the Delta Center again.
Oh, well, I guess that's what happens when you have a terribly constructed ISP. Oh, did I say that out loud? Continue.
Back to the Bills thing. 3:00 Sunday at Ralph Wilson Field at Highmark Stadium. The game that we didn't get 3 weeks ago, we're getting now. Although this time, the players are the same, but the location has changed. No longer at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. Instead, we are in Orchard Park, New York, as the Cincinnati Bengals are at the Buffalo Bills. Oh, boy. So we talked about this last week when we were pouring one out for the homers. And I said that I would not be surprised if Damar Hamlin is in the building for the Dolphins-Bills game. He was not. I am going to go on the record right now, 9:56 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, January 18th?
19th.
Took me a second. Got there. Thursday, January 19th, 2023. In my opinion, there is zero chance. Thanks.
Look, what did you look? I was going to pull up the other one, but you don't want me to pull up the other one, given who you're mentioning.
There is literally zero chance that DeMar Hamlin is not at this game on Sunday. I don't see a way that he's not there. I think that there is one simple word that DeMar Hamlin is going to need about what happened 3 weeks ago. And do you know what that one simple word is, Erik? Closure. A way to say thank you to the Bengals for the way they responded to what happened in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
A way to say thank you to the Bills fan base for all of the love and support that poured into Chasing M's Foundation, as well as everything else Hamlin related. A way to say thank you for all of the love for 3.
And throw in one extra touching moment in pregame warm-ups, what have you, giving a big old hug to T. Higgins.
Aww.
I mean, you
so
know.
Usually, do you remember 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
The Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots last week of the regular season.
Yep.
And the entire Bills team comes running out onto the field waving the 3 flags.
Mm-hmm.
Only one person comes running out of that tunnel on Sunday. DeMar Hamlin.
Mm-hmm.
Waving a Buffalo Bills flag. And that entire stadium loses their shit. You cannot tell me that would not hype up that team and that stadium to the point where you can go ahead and subtitle this episode this if you'd like to. An avalanche of emotion carries Buffalo forward.
I mean, A, losing that decibel record. B, if a certain man who runs a certain league, which has headquarters in New York City, who loves his ad revenue and his ratings, have something like that in that scenario, as you just described, as a special little thing right on CBS. I'm just saying, people would tune in. You would get ratings.
It was Fred Jackson in the Bills game, or for the Miami game last week. The former running back for Buffalo, that he did the hype speech there. The whole squish the fish thing that seems to be the trend in Buffalo whenever we play Miami. I stand by what I said. It wasn't pretty, but in fairness, it didn't have to be.
No. And I mean, needless to say, you've got a few people on your bandwagon, and you would be absolutely right. That kick return touchdown, this would eclipse that by all means.
Can I just give credit real quick to Jim Nance for his call on that? The This Is Storybook call?
Yes.
You know what that reminded me of? The Al Davis "Do You Believe in Miracles" line from the 1980 Winter Olympics. One of those lines that just sticks with you in the moment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
My official prediction is forthcoming, but when it comes to Miami, Al Davis. Just win, baby. Mr. Watkins.
Oh, boy.
So, 32 points
Mm-hmm.
for the Buffalo Bills in 1992
Mm-hmm.
in Orchard Park.
Yep.
Seems we're spending a lot of time there this year. The second largest comeback in the postseason history, 27 points. Jacksonville, Florida, TIAA Bank Stadium.
I'm going to tell you this, and this is going to tie in a lot. Trevor Lawrence did not have a hot start. Now, keep in mind, first of all, that number 4 is coming up a lot. At the end of that game, he ends up 4-0 in his career on a Saturday, going all the way back to high school. He became the second quarterback following Ben Roethlisberger to throw 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in a playoff game. And if you look at his opening stats, 4 for 12 with 4 interceptions, you know who else went 4 for 12 with 4 interceptions in a playoff game? Craig Morton.
I just watched a game where he was the starting quarterback. I watched Denver versus Pittsburgh from 1979, the year after the Steelers won the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl 12 against his old team, the Dallas Cowboys. The Broncos committed 8 turnovers in that game, and yes, he went 4 for 12 with 4 interceptions. So needless to say, after about the first quarter and a half, going into middle of the second quarter, I was not happy. Things just went from bad to worse. Then you had the whole muff on the kickoff or whatever, 5 turnovers, and I'm thinking, all right, my parlay's done. We're dead and buried. Fun ride. Goodbye. Good night. Get drunk. Drive home safely. Yada, 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 yada. Then we scored a touchdown before the half. And yes, Robert Taylor, I'm calling you out in particular because we had our messenger chat. Yeah, you gave me hope. I didn't want hope. Harry, what did you remember specifically saying?
Hope is a hell of a drug.
Uh-huh. But the more the game played on, and the more he's like, hey, you get a score, it's not so bad. Then he sent that sideways sort of maybe ha emoji. Then he's like, hey.
This one.
Exactly, that one. So then he's like, hey, you get a stop. You score again. You're only down 13 after being a -5 in the turnover ratio in the third quarter. We do just that. Jamal Agnew. Huge kickoff return, as he is wont to do. Setting up great field position. The short passes started clicking. Travis Etienne, Evan Ingram. We score again.
It's that Clemson connection from Lawrence to Etienne.
Exactly. The Clemson boys were stepping up. He sends the emoji again. And I'm like, okay.
They really like their big cats. First they were Taggers, then they became Jaguars. Carry on. Sorry.
I got to go back and see what the nickname was at Cartersville High School for Trevor anyways. So then I see, hey, wait a minute. Chargers are starting to fall apart. They're not moving as effectively. We're starting to get pressure. We're starting to step up on defense. Yes, we still had issues with the zone, still picking us apart a little bit here and there. But we had momentum. Then, after we give up a field goal, we score again. It's 30-20. And I'm thinking, no, can't be. Because of course it is. Because damn it, of course it is.
I didn't want to say anything. I just figured show you and see the reaction because I figured it was going to be something similar. Continue.
So then we keep going, and I'm thinking, all right, our defense keeps stepping up the way it does. We still got speed. They've still got issues at receiver and everything. We're starting to freak out and piss off Joey Bosa, although on one of those plays with the offside, he may or may not have had a point, but you didn't hear that from me. So all of a sudden we score again. Bosa's throwing his helmet. We get to go for 2. We score on that 2-point conversion. We're down by 2, and I'm like, holy hell, we have a legitimate shot.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yes, there was. And but I'm just like, all right, we've got our timeouts. We just need to go ahead one last time on defense. Then I see we get the ball, and I'm like, this legit. What is life? What is football? What is this season? Why am I sober? Am I sober? No. They couldn't be doing it like this. And then 4th and 1, timeout. Doug Peterson doing the exact opposite of Brandon Staley and having a moment of brilliance with that off-tackle run by Etienne. We had him for the field goal. Riley Patterson. The rest is history. And I'm like,
another big cat, a tiger.
some of the bitch, the football gods were smiling upon me. And yeah, I officially considered my coveted Monday Night Miracle at the Meadowlands surpassed watching that game unfold. Yeah, that checks. And yes, there was a chance. A small one at the time, but it got larger. And don't have access to the comment anymore, but that was a game I really felt not only excited, optimistic, and that wound up turning into a literally perfect weekend, at least for me, in Pick'ems. So I'm like, all right, my parlay's alive. I can sleep well tonight. And I did.
Yeah, something along the lines of $79 or something like that.
Yep, this was the exact comment, and I'm like, all right.
Still moderately pissy about that, but you know why. Nothing personal.
Hey, again, within situations with wallets, I understand entirely. No
Congratulations.
harm, no foul.
Congratulations all the same.
Thank you kindly.
Speaking of which, I have a question for you. Oh wait, you have to give me your thoughts going into Saturday's game. Again on a Saturday. You mentioned the fact that Trevor Lawrence is 4-0 in his career as a starting quarterback in the NFL on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps the NFL setting the stage for a little hocus pocus, or dare ye hope as much?
I do, because I noted before last week. What did we say when we were talking about injuries and everything else and the Chargers offense? A fast offense versus a fast defense. We saw what happened. I think if we can really avoid those early critical mistakes, because if we have another god-awful start to that game, it's going to be another boat race, and I'm going to have to go to the store to get some Bacardi and Worcestershire sauce. Yes, Robert Taylor, although yes, I'm still thinking up something on my end. You would think for as much booze as we consume here anyways. However, I think if Doug Peterson looks at what to avoid and focuses on some key matchups and has a similar kind of offensive scheme, except a little bit more run heavy, especially in the first quarter, it's going to be extremely entertaining. Because I think with our defense, if we can show up like we did last week in the second half and learn from what we did right and what we did wrong when the Chiefs previously came to Duval, we've got a fighting chance.
Yeah, I think the key here is going to be possession, specifically time of possession. And the reason I say that is I think this is going to be a game where if Jacksonville wants to win, they're going to have the ball last.
Absolutely.
And I don't just mean that in a victory formation thing. I mean that they're going to want to drag this out to the point that it is a last possession wins kind of game. Because as you said, if you guys try to trade, sorry, I have an itch that I can no longer ignore. If you guys try to trade offensive firepower with Kansas City, you're going to get ran off of the field.
Naturally.
To be fair, there's not a whole lot of teams that can match score for score with Kansas City. This is going to be a situation where your defense has to step up and play maybe their best game of the season.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say at the worst top 3 this season.
And for as great of a second half as Trevor Lawrence had against the Chargers, anything close to what happened in the first half, and y'all are screwed.
Yep. We're out of it, and we're out of it early.
Because while San Diego Los Angeles led 27-0 or 27-7 at the half, realistically speaking, that game should have been a lot worse.
Probably along the lines of the 62-7 that we put on Dan Marino to send him into retirement.
3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. But given the field position that they had on a couple of those drives there, it could have easily been 35. So we'll get to predictions here. And as a matter of fact, given the fact that it is the first game up, it seems an appropriate place to switch over right now, does it not?
It really does.
Erik, are you serious? Weekly interrobang. Now you guys open the slate 3:00 or 4:30 on Saturday. NBC, I think.
I'm gonna double check, but I want to say yes because I know one of those Saturday games is NBC.
ESPN, I believe. ESPN ABC has Saturday Night Football, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure because CBS has Bills Bengals.
Yep. So that one's actually. So this game we open up on NBC. CBS does have Bills Bengals. Fox gets both the night games. Giants Eagles on Saturday and Cowboys and Niners on Sunday.
So ABC's ESPN's NFL slate is done until the Pro Bowl then.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, Fox has the Super Bowl this year too, so it makes sense that they get 2 division. That makes sense that they have 2 of the divisional round games. All right, so like I was saying, I thought it was, and it is NBC. The final Saturday, the final Sunday Night Football broadcast of the season. So I'm assuming that means Tirico and Collinsworth. Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. As John mentioned earlier, the decibel record holders for the loudest stadium ever anywhere. The Jacksonville Jaguars come in a 9.5-point underdog.
Line having been reduced, thankfully, to 8.5.
Oh, it's 8.5 now? It was 9.5 originally.
Yep, 9.5 open and currently 8.5.
Which means that the smart money seems to be coming in on Jacksonville, or the smart money's coming in on that's too high of a number for a postseason game. Let's look at what happened in the first week of playoffs and look at some of those high numbers. Buffalo was like a 13.5-point favorite and won by 3.
Yeah, the only one who really took care of business with
was
that
Fritz,
high of a line. Yep.
And they only did that in the second half because they were in a dogfight at halftime of their game.
Thank you, Geno Smith, for being the Geno Smith I knew you were always going to be. But I digress.
I think he still secured the job in Seattle next season.
Yeah, against who? That's the point.
Well, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Seattle go quarterback hunting in the draft.
Oh, of course they are, especially since they've got their quarterbacks on the cheap.
And Geno Smith, Drew Lock, and, well, not much else, honestly. Anyways, back to it. 8.5 on Saturday at Arrowhead, Erik. Let's get the elephant out of the way immediately. Honest squirrel time.
If I'm being honest, I think our run ends. We're going to muster up enough to make it good, and I still think 8.5 is too many, but this crew, I'm not going to say we're ahead of schedule, but we've done a lot.
I would 100% say you're ahead of schedule.
And there is no shame whatsoever in even another competitive loss on the road to a Super Bowl contending team. I am good right here and now, but this crew has not been here before. Mahomes, Kansas City, Andy Reid.
Old hat.
Exactly.
So you're going KC straight up, Jacksonville against the spread.
Correct. I get it. I'm
sorry. I don't see it.
Again, I'm not mad.
Even
if it winds up like a similar margin at 27-17, I'll be like, okay.
I honestly don't think you guys get it that close.
Really?
I think Kansas City blows you guys out. And the reason I think Kansas City blows you guys out is the exact thing that you just talked about. Yes, Lawrence, Etienne, Peterson have big game experience. Peterson's as an NFL coach, he's a Super Bowl winner.
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence and Etienne's big game experience came in college, and it is a different animal when it comes to the NFL postseason.
Completely agreed.
You guys got incredibly fortunate last week against the Chargers because that game should not have been as close as it was when the comeback started. You are going to have to play flawless football to beat Kansas City.
And we ain't ready for that.
You're going to have to play near flawless football to keep it close.
We ain't quite ready for that.
Mm-hmm. There is just too much talent on this Kansas City team, in my opinion. I'm thinking something similar to what happened to Buffalo 2 years ago in the AFC Championship game, something along the lines of 38-21.
It would be a tough pill to swallow, but swallowable, not like a suppository.
Well, I refer you back to what we talked about before we went on the air tonight with the whole Requiem for a Season thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is a situation where, regardless of what happens Saturday, Jacksonville Jaguar fans can hold their heads high.
Fucking right we can.
And the reason I say that is because nobody expected you to win the South this year. Most people didn't expect you guys to finish above 500. I know I didn't. I had you at 7-10.
I was originally 7-10 until I broke down the schedule, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and the thing about it was
it happens, yeah.
Because both of us took Indianapolis to win the South this year because we had high expectations of Matt Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
When we did our mid-season re-bracket like we usually do on the show, I had Tennessee winning the South because I had no idea that Tennessee was going to go full on fold mode. 15-17. It was 14 for Buffalo in Kansas City in 2020. 38-24 was the final at Arrowhead.
Yep.
So
yeah, we were the damn Spanish Inquisition because nobody expected us, especially the second half of the season. The first half, it was right on schedule.
I like Trevor Lawrence. He has a hell of a future ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
I can take you back to our draft show a couple of years ago. And specifically, I remember telling you when you guys asked me, who do you want Buffalo to get in this draft? And my 2-word answer was Travis Etienne. And you guys snuck up and took him the pick before us.
Our bad.
No, it wasn't. Don't placate me. You're not where you're going to be. You need a couple of more weapons. You need a game-breaking wide receiver, which you currently don't have.
Yeah, that's definitely our pressing need in the draft this year.
Zay Jones was a quality hand in Buffalo when he wasn't batshit crazy in a hotel room. Marvin Jones Jr. had flashes of brilliance in Detroit, but also flashes of disappearing for weeks at a time. I stand by what I said. I think you guys traded away your game changer at wide receiver this offseason in Laviska Shenault.
I was not happy about that at all.
You guys are a game-changing wide receiver away from being an incredibly potent offense, and I think a potent offense is what you need to beat Kansas City. Turn this into a defensive slog and you have a chance. But like you said, turn this into a defensive slog and you have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this turns into a boat race and y'all can't hang with Kansas City in one of those.
I'm one of the first to say it. That's why at least I can get Bacardi in the teeny bottles.
Is Taylor giving you the points in your bet?
I don't know. I have to ask him about that.
You should get the points in your bet.
Okay.
That's just saying. It's only fair.
True.
Saturday night on Fox, as Eric was just mentioning, it is 8 or 7.5 now, I think it says.
7.5.
Originally 8.5, as the New York Giants are at the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 of the 3 teams from the NFC Beast to make it to the Final Four in the NFC this year. I don't think there's any question what the best division in the NFC was this year. It's the 49ers and then the NFC East. Literally, that's all that's left.
Yep.
The Giants are a fantastic story. Our buddy Jason Teasley is celebrating, of course, and he should. This is another team that is ahead of schedule, although I question whether or not Daniel Jones will be the guy going forward. But if you were to ask me a couple of weeks ago, who's coming out of the NFC as the Super Bowl participant, I would have said the Philadelphia Eagles. And then they lost to the Saints. And then they lost to the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
The loss to the Saints and the loss to the Cowboys, there was an important piece of that offense missing, and apparently much more important than people realized at the time. Because when Jalen Hurts starts for the Philadelphia Eagles this year, the Eagles are 13-1. When Gardner Minshew, God bless his lovable personality, starts, the Eagles are 1-2. Jalen Hurts is starting on Sunday.
Yep. This is all it sums up for me. The Giants, he feels that they should have been done. I knew they weren't going to be. This week is a completely different animal.
I actually think this is the close game, though. Because
Really?
of the division rivalry aspect of it. I think the Giants cover. But the Eagles win. 28-21.
Now, see, I'm going to go slightly the opposite here because what we talked about with the Jaguars-Chiefs game, fast offense, fast defense, turning it into a slog, what the Eagles are going to be able to do more effectively that Minnesota at times could and at times couldn't.
Apologies for the moving screen, guys. I'm dealing with a cramp right now.
Running the ball. I think with how their offense with Sanders and Hurts and everything is set up, I don't think the Giants are going to be able to stop themselves from being as worn down. Yes, they can run it just as effectively with Saquon Barkley. I don't question that. And if they want to slow down the tempo a bit themselves, they can really turn it into a running game. But when you get to the point where you absolutely need to pass and that happens, I like Jalen Hurts a lot more than I like Danny Loose Change. John has this one at 8. I'm going to say closer to 9. Give me a little bit of a lower scoring game, 23-14. This might be another one of those like front door covers in the game, but
Eagles score late in order to beat the spread.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, and obviously, I'm going to go money line on these games rather than going ATS, just because.
And we're going to get to your hot take in a second after we finish this game before we go to the Bills game.
To me, and like Saquon Barkley is your comeback player of the year, in my opinion, and I stand by that.
Mm-hmm.
For as great as Geno Smith played up in Seattle this year, for as many heads as Geno turned up in Seattle, Saquon Barkley carried the Giants, and you can't convince me otherwise. Geno Smith had DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and an incredible breakout rookie performance by Kenneth Walker III. I just feel like Saquon by himself, with the inconsistencies that come along with Daniel Jones, aren't going to be enough. I think they keep it close because of Barkley, and again, the grind the clock out kind of game.
Right.
But yeah, Eagles win. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Now, to wrap up our Saturday with this hot take, Jacksonville has a better than outside chance to win than I think a lot of people give them credit for. Harry, you made a lot of valid points. We don't have a full armory to work with, true. You have a lot of good comeback moments and won some games. We were honestly discounted before the coin flip, true. Especially going into, well, at times the first half of the season, more so in the second half. I know Kansas City is one of the big favorites for this year, but I wouldn't say I'd be surprised to see Jacksonville take them down in a minor upset. Crazier shit has happened, but
my comment to that was, you talk about close games. Minnesota set an NFL record for most close games decided by 3 points or fewer in a season this year, or 7 or fewer in a season this year.
Yeah, one possession games at 11-0.
A lot of good that did them last week. This is the playoffs, and come the postseason, experience matters, and Jacksonville just doesn't have it outside of their head coach. I wish them well. I do, because God knows if Jacksonville wins, then the AFC Championship game could be at the Ralph.
Yeah, insert 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins comment. I get it. And again, the same thing. Saturday Trevor Lawrence hoodoo is becoming a thing in of itself. Who knows? But
we opened with your game. Let's close with mine. So we instead moved to the 6:30 p.m. Sunday game, as the Dallas Cowboys are at the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's San Fran -4.
Correct.
Which was the opening line on this game. So apparently money coming in on both sides. I mean, I think you have the Dallas draw and then the Purdy influence as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that San Francisco would be at a disadvantage with Brock Purdy as their quarterback because of the experience comment that I made here before. But in fairness, Dak Prescott has won exactly as many playoff games as Brock Purdy has. 1. Overall, the San Francisco 49ers are a significantly more talented team. My concern is coach. Kyle Shanahan has had an excellent run with the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Shanahan comes from a Hall of Fame father, the former Broncos coach, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the postseason, like I was talking about with experience, and the man behind Dallas has a shit ton of it in Mike McCarthy. Even if his play calling and decision making in the postseason has been questionable at times, at best. This is a really close game. And I hate myself for saying this.
Oh no. You're not gonna. No. No. No.
I think Dallas pulls the upset here. And the reason I think Dallas pulls the upset here is San Francisco has game breakers.
Mm-hmm.
Deebo Samuel,
Yep.
Brandon Ayuk,
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Dallas has game controllers. Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Tony Pollard. I think Dallas turns this into a grinded out kind of matchup. And I think that overall experience between Prescott and Purdy, you have to give the edge to Dak Prescott.
Okay, so going over these here, Brian, Purdy is being way too overrated, coming from someone who sang his praises. Purdy is a product of Shanahan's system working flawlessly, and as he said it, as you just said, he can't argue your logic. Oh, it's not a prediction; it's a spoiler. He's taking Niners by 4. Here's my thing.
Just real quick, Dallas 27-24.
Here's my thing when I see this. I also look at coach. I look at coaching experience and everything in the postseason with these two because there's some more than others, but a good amount on both sides.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Shanahan has a Super Bowl participation, does he not?
Yes, he does. With Garoppolo losing to the Chiefs after blowing a big lead. And this is the thing that I'm leaning into. When you are in the postseason in particular, as you get deeper into the postseason, the worst thing a coach can do is outthink the room. And there have been a lot of times that Kyle Shanahan, with him being such an offensive mastermind, has just simply outthought the room. You can say Mike McCarthy's boring. You can say he should have won more with Aaron Rodgers and everything else. And in some ways, you're right. But when I see this team, I go back a ways, especially with that backfield. A two-headed monster like Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, and those receivers you mentioned. When I see this Dallas team in a lot of ways, I'm reminded heavily of those Dallas teams from the 70s with Craig Morton under center and then Roger Staubach. And I see shades of what was the first ever NFC championship game out west, then at Kezar Stadium, between the Cowboys and the Niners. Cowboys went on to win a lower scoring game, 17-14. But exactly how they did it, running, grinding the clock, key plays for receivers, getting field position. I think when you're kind of backed up against the wall, as Shanahan could find himself, especially in the second half, third quarter in particular, he's going to want to start outthinking the room. And even though Brock Purdy is special, he's not the kind of guy I would want under center if you've got a coach working a little bit too fast. That's where mistakes are made. While I would love the Niners to pull it out for the sake of the Schwab Bowl still being alive after all these years, Dallas is making a run and doing things that they have not done in about 3 decades. I think it continues. Damn it. It's weird when I change my mind. Why the hell did you have to be so good and logical all of a sudden, mutter?
Although I sometimes occasionally forget to unmute my microphone, what I said was I stepped my game up during the postseason.
That you do.
The early game on Saturday is the one that means the most to me. On Sunday, is the one that means the most to me. The early game on Saturday is the one that means the most to him. 3:30 p.m.
3 p.m.
3 o'clock p.m. Sorry, 6:30 on the late game. 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Noon Pacific. But, whatever.
Yeah. Blame him for that one.
Noon Pacific. Culmination. Cincinnati at Buffalo. Buffalo's a 5.5-point favorite. Line originally opened at 4.5, has been bet up. Yeah, same thing happened when we played Miami. It went from 10.5 all the way up to 13.5. And, well, again, you saw what happened. Yeah, you guys need to ask what I'm picking here. And this has nothing to do with logic. This has nothing to do with reason. This has nothing to do with any of that. This goes out the window because this is what matters. This is what matters. (1990, 1991, 1992, 1993 are what matters. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend The Four Falls of Buffalo. But you can tell that there is an anticipation in Bills fans that hasn't been seen since the height of those Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas-led era teams. You can tell that there is almost an expectation of a change in the climate of the Buffalo Bills franchise. Cincinnati, we appreciate you. We have a long-standing history with the Bengals. Erik, we were just a year into the show, into the kickoff, that fateful Sunday in January of 2018. Where literally, I live in an apartment building. I think I've made that apparent before. Literally, both of my neighbors told me they could hear me when I shouted, "Oh my God, the Bills are going to the fucking playoffs."
Yeah, that was a hell of a day on Red Zone for me. Oh, hell of a day.
Tyler Boyd is a folk hero to Buffalo Bills fans still to this day. I would almost argue that Andy Dalton is a demigod to the Bills fans as well. And now you look back at what happened 3 weeks ago, excuse me, in Cincinnati. You look at the fact that this was the game that got taken away. But the outpouring of support that happened afterwards. And we talked about it the week on the show. One of the very first names you see on that top donation list. Andy and JJ Dalton. I'm sorry. But if I'm being honest, I'm really not. Hey, 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 hey.
And this is the thing right here. A long-standing, long-suffering Jets fan. He's absolutely right. That was the year Broadway Joe, fur coat, eventually land out by the pool in Miami with that guarantee. I am going to sum up everything I feel in exactly 4 words. See you in Atlanta. It's going to be a good one. Game of the week? Damn it, I think so. But in the end, do you really go up against the Mafia on their turf?
I don't want a close game for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically after last week, I'm not sure my heart's going to be able to take it. But humor me, Mr. Watkins, when it comes to my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, 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 hey.
Damn it.
You just say hey, 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 hey.
Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, 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 hey.
Let's go, Buffalo.
Let's go, Buffalo.
Let's go, Buffalo.
Let's go, Buffalo.
You want to know what I want to do with my prediction? You make me want to shout. Bills win. Bills cover. Buffalo 31. Cincinnati 21.
I'm going to do even better. Another kickoff touchdown.
I mean, I go back to what Josh said. 3 years and 3 months in between the last two. I don't know about all that.
I mean, it's not going to be really to start the game. But I will say this. And I'll call myself out for this one. Within the first quarter and a half, y'all score on defense. You get to Burrow, you punch through, you give something big, something early to keep that crowd hyped the rest of the game. 38-20, and pack your bags for the dirty, dirty.
I have been a Buffalo Bills fan since I was 6 years old. Not quite 7. And the Frank Reich game was my first Buffalo Bills watch. I've told that story on the show before. I don't know what the rest of the season holds for us. but I do know this. Earlier this year, going to Kansas City, playing Pittsburgh, playing Tennessee, my words were, revenge, thy name is Buffalo. This isn't revenge. This is destiny. Destiny calls my name. Destiny calls our name. It's time to answer. Twitter.com/notanetworkpods, Twitch.tv/notanetworkpods, technically also available right now on Twitch.tv/AWP podcasts, but that will be sunsetted at the end of January, so make your way on over to the Not a Network Pods Twitch page. YouTube.com/@notanetworkpods. For the HNIC of the NANP, I'm telling you, it has a ring.
It does. It does.
He is Erik Watkins. I am the voice of reason. Hopefully. My name is Harry Broadhurst. We'll see you next week here on the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white. What do you mean? No.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you in 7.
Thank you for listening to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report. Sports in black and white. A presentation of the Not a Network Podcast Network. Available online via most major streaming services.